Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May God's peace, mercy, and blessing be upon you all. Welcome, good evening, and special welcome and good evening to our non-Muslim friends from the local community. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Iqbal Naseem. It's my pleasure to host this session this evening. The title, which is Islam, Religion of Love. And our guest speaker today is Sulayman Van Ael. Sulayman Van Ael is originally from Belgium. He became Muslim at the age of 18, around 22, 23 years ago. So if you're good at maths, you can work out how old he is. He's originally from Belgium, became Muslim, and in that time, over the last 22 years, has been continuously studying and teaching Islam. He's a scholar, a teacher, a preacher, and for the last 18 months, has been living in the United Kingdom, just not too far in Kingston. So he will take us away today, speak for around maybe 30, 40 minutes, and then we'll open up for questions and answers. So without further delay, I'll pass over to Shaykh Sulayman Van Ael.
Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Peace be upon you all. I was asked to speak about love because very often when we hear about Islam, the connection between Islam and love is not already made. Very often when we say Islam, it's not the first thing we think of. Like Islam, not all of a sudden we're going to see hearts appearing in front of our eyes. And this is not due to the reality of Islam, but due to more than one thing. And I think that one of these things, without any doubt, is also the ignorance of many Muslims about the reality of love in Islam, and also ignorant Muslims practicing Islam in a wrong way, and also the wrong image that has been given very often on the news, in the media, about the reality of Islam. So we have on the one hand ignorant Muslims, and on the other people that don't really know what Islam stands for. Because I can't imagine myself that someone would go to the shop and buy a Quran and say, let us read the Quran from the beginning till the end, from cover to know what the Muslims think. It's much easier to listen to the news, look at the media, hear what is going on, and then, try to understand what is going on. When I became a Muslim 23 years ago, and you already told me how old I should be now, so 41, I'm 41, yes. When I became a Muslim, like when I was 18, one of the things that were driving me to become a Muslim was the presence of love within the message. Love for the self, love for Creator, love for creation. That were three things that I found to be present in Islam without excess. There was no lack of it, and there was not too much of it. It was harmonized, it was beautiful. And this is what invites so many people until today to become Muslims. If we were to think that everybody who becomes a Muslim today, and there are thousands without exaggerating, a month, if not a day, they do not choose for Islam because they like to hate, or because they like to destroy and demolish. We have seen enough of that. People are looking to give love and to receive love. And this is one of the goals of everybody on the face of the earth with a sound mind. There is no other solution for any problem on the world apart from love. So now, what is love in Islam? This is the question that I want to come to, or this is the issue that I would like to talk about, so that we know. The first thing I would like to do is to take you together with me 1,400 years ago. 1,400 years ago, in the midst of the desert, under the sun, in the midst of snakes and scorpions, where there was no law, where there was oppression, where women were being treated very badly, they were being sold. I'm talking about the Arab desert. Women being sold, little girls being killed alive. In the midst of everything that was happening was a man that stood up. And this man is the man that we believe in. And this is a man that we love. And his name is Muhammad. And we, Muslims with a sound mind, do not love him because he's supposed to be a warrior, or a person chopping off heads, or oppressing women, or hating non-believers, and so forth. If that would be the case, that would make me a kind of insane. I love Muhammad because of the beautiful characteristics that I found within him as a human being and in all aspects of life. So let us go back to a time, as I said, in the midst of the desert, the Arabs, they didn't like women to start with. They didn't like women. Like Me Too didn't exist back then, but Arabs didn't like women. Because they were always continuously engaged in war, and their wife or wives would then be captured, be sold. So when they would have a girl, they would just bury it. They would bury a girl. One girl was enough. Secondly, a mother, now if a man would be married, then if the husband would die, the woman would be inherited by the uncle or by even the stepson and would become his or his wife. And so there were many things going on. The orphans were being oppressed. People were keeping money for themselves. People with another color, like African people, would be oppressed, would be enslaved. So Muhammad stood up at that particular moment in time. And on the other hand, we had Persia and the Romans, and their ethical points or their ethical views on life weren't also that pretty at many times. So now Muhammad stood up. And he stood up for everybody. Like when he stood up, like one of the first verses in the Quran, that was وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ or قُتِلَتْ. And when the girl that is buried alive will stand up on the day of judgment, we believe in an afterlife. And she will say, why have I been killed? Men that hated women, all of a sudden were told that if you have one daughter or two or three, and you bring them up, you raise them in the best of ways with patience of wisdom, they will be your key to paradise. So now these men, 2 weeks ago, being happy with burying girls alive, now wanted to keep them alive. But Muhammad, he wasn't about talking. A lot of people talk. People whose words are very beautiful but have no actions to emphasize their words are selling empty boxes. You know, when you get a gift and a present and it's wrapped like in a very nice paper and you think this must be a Rolex, and you open it and it's nothing. It's empty. Muhammad wasn't like that. He used to put his words into practice. And this is when, in front of all these men that were denigrating, humiliating women, he took his granddaughter on his shoulders while he was praying, leading prayer with all of these people behind him, all these men. And she was about 4 years old. He put her on his shoulders during prayer. And he was the leader of the Muslims, so that everybody would know that the place of a woman is on the shoulders of a prophet and not under the ground. So Muhammad, alayhi salatu wasalam, and when I say alayhi salatu wasalam, it means peace be upon him. We say the same thing when we talk about Jesus, when we talk about Abraham or Ibrahim and so forth. That was not the only thing. If now you were to think, how would, in this macho culture, how would a man die? Would die as a warrior? Would die as I don't know what? How did Muhammad die? Where did he die? He died in the arms of his wife, Aisha. And people say, look, him being a prophet, it would have made sense if he would have died in his prayer. Like, here I am, pious, I'm praying, I'm bowing in prostration and so forth, prostration. But that wasn't the case. When he felt that he was about to die, he put his head in the arms of his wife Aisha. And then he raised his finger to the sky and said, "Oh my Lord, I beg you, please, let me be the inhabitant of the highest levels of paradise." And then he died. So his wife was very proud. So the scholars say, that which shows the status of women is that the Prophet died in the arms of his wife and not while doing anything else. And also, mothers weren't respected. But he taught us to give our mothers love. It is even as such that a woman in Islam is respected or treated with more respect than the father, and this 3 times. You ask any Muslim here, he will know that we respect the mother 3 times more. The scholars say, but why? It is in the Quran, in chapter 31. So the scholars say, why? They say, because a mother does 3 things that a man can never do. She carries the baby. She's the one that carries the baby. She delivers the baby and she feeds the baby. Now, of course, a man can feed the baby with a spoon, I know. But the milk and so forth is only for the men. So they say 3 things that a father can never do, a woman can do. So the Prophet ﷺ said, paradise lies under the feet of the mother. And this is why Muhammad said, don't say uff to your parents. Just like this. There was a man, and he came from Medina, which is about 350 kilometers away from Mecca, with his mother on his back. And we think, no, this is just a story. No, it's true. Even now, people, when they go to Mecca, they carry their mothers on their back. And he came from Medina to Mecca, and when he carried his mother, and for 350 kilometers, I don't know miles, he came to the Prophet and said, Prophet, now I have an idea. You told me that we can never pay our mothers back. I just did. 350 kilometers, carrying her. Did I now pay her? He said, you didn't pay one single pain that she experienced when she was delivering you. This is one of the things that the Muslim was taught in the midst of the desert by a man named Muhammad. He was teaching us how to love. Very often, if I were to say, for example, I love you, but then I insult you, or I lie about you, or I gossip, would you believe me to love you? No. Love is more than a word, it's a deed. In Islam, love is about deeds. We have had enough words. We want actions. We want the expression of words to be deeds. Now, in the midst of the Arabic desert, and the people, they didn't like Africans. They didn't like African people. They said they are black, they are not as good as we are. So they were enslaved. They were not the only ones doing that. The Portuguese, the Spanish, you can name it. Everybody was enslaving African people just because of their color, which doesn't make any sense. Nevertheless, there was a lot of money being made in the Arabic desert. But then Muhammad stood up and he said, لا فرق بين عربي ولا أعجمي ولا أبيض ولا أسود. He said there is no difference. Now for us this seems to be normal because this is the talk of the day. But we are talking about 1,400 years ago. Not now. Now it's normal. If somebody would say we have to stop slavery, of course we have to. It's normal. But he stood up when nobody did. He stood up for the women when they were being buried and sold. He stood up for the African people when everybody was abusing them. And he said there is no difference at all between an Arab and a non-Arab. Like he could have said between black and white. But we Arabs, I'm the Prophet and we are Arabs, we are better. No. Between Arabs and non-Arabs, between black and white. No difference. So then people started getting angry with Muhammad. Like, you're giving women their rights? You're giving the African people their rights? That was not all. He was even giving rights to animals. To animals. Who cared about animals? If my camel died and collapsed, then I would just buy another one. They were for free in the desert. So now he saw a camel that was overloaded. And they packed it really. And the Prophet ﷺ, Muhammad, he went and he looked at the camel and saw that the camel was weak. It seemed like she was weeping. And then he said, who is the owner of this camel? Who is the owner of this camel? And someone said, I am. He said, the way that you burden your camel, you will be burdened by Allah in this life or the hereafter. So he stood up for women. He stood up for oppressed people. He stood up for the animals. When someone insulted an animal, his camel, he said, your camel is being stubborn. He said, don't say this about my camel. We are not allowed to insult no human being and no animal. So now, to come back, when Muhammad, remember, when he showed people the status of women by carrying his granddaughter on his shoulders, like in a very important moment of time, which was prayer, now there's something else going on. This black man, an African man named Bilal, he was chosen to call people to prayer. So even in the beginning, when the people became Muslim, they weren't able to change 100, how many degrees do we say? 180. 180. If you do 360, you come back, right? So 180 degrees. So some people still had something in their heart, but now there was this African man every time telling them to come to the mosque. That was not all. When he went to perform his pilgrimage, when there were more, according to many books, than 120,000 people present, he told Bilal, the African caller to prayer, to get up the Kaaba. How do we call the Kaaba? The black stone in Mecca? How do you call that? The Kaaba, exactly. He told Bilal to get on the Kaaba. And we believe that the Kaaba contains a stone of paradise. Once again, this time to show people that the place of a colored man was not under the oppression of human beings, but was above the stone of paradise. So Muhammad was doing so many things. So people started loving him. In the Quran is mentioned that عزيز عليه ما عنتم حريص عليكم بالمؤمنين رؤوف رحيم. Yani عزيز عليه ما عنتم means yani your pain, he feels it more than you feel it yourself. He couldn't cope with pain of others until he found a way to bring them at ease. They say when people would come to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they would ask, for example, for milk, and he didn't have milk, he didn't have money, he would borrow money, buy the milk, give it to you, and then pay that debt. This is why we Muslims, we know these kinds of stories. And this is why we love him. This is why we believe him to be an example in the way that he lived, and in the way that he treated people, the way that he even treated nature. Everything was in harmony. So now love, one of the supplications of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, which I like a lot, was Allahumma inni as'aluka hubbak. Oh Allah, oh Lord, oh God, I ask you for your love. This was one of the things that Muhammad used to mention a lot. I ask you for your love. Yani I ask you to love me. Because there is no goal in loving someone if he doesn't accept your love. Because if you love someone and he or she doesn't accept your love, you will be saddened if your love is not accepted. So, oh Allah, I ask you to love me. And I ask you to grant me the love of those who love you. And the love for deeds that drag me closer, bring me closer to your love. And make loving you, my Lord, more beloved to me than cold water passing through a dry throat. This was one of the supplications of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Another thing that is connected to love is that Muhammad encouraged us to express love to one another. You know, like in the beginning, like very often when we speak about love, what do we think? Love between partners, isn't it? Like it's love. When I say love, we think very quickly about romantic love. 2 days ago, Valentine love. That kind of love. Was it 2 days ago? No, don't you celebrate Valentine in the UK? You do? Okay. Yeah, okay. So we very quickly think about a romantic love, don't we? But one day Muhammad was talking to a man in that macho culture again, you know, with swords and so they started to change. And a man passed and a man said to the Prophet, I love that man. And he loved for his humanity, for his good traits, for his beautiful and outstanding and excellent behavior. So he said, أَأَخْبَرْتَهُ أَنَّكَ تُحِبُّ? Did you tell him that you love him? That must have been like a brain freeze. Like, am I going, like people that used to bury their daughters alive, now I have to tell a man that I love him? So he said, إِذَا أَحَبَّ أَحَدُكُمْ أَخَاهُ فَلْيُخْبِرْهُ أَنَّهُ يُحِبُّهُ. If someone loves his brother or his sister, and in humanity, in belief, that he makes him aware that he loves him. So he went to him and he said, I love you for God's sake. For God's sake, say that? For the sake of God, for the cause of God. So we were even taught to say this. And to be quite frank, do you know that love is one of the keys to paradise according to the Muslims? The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, no one amongst you will enter paradise until he believes. And no one will truly believe until he loves other people. It's a part of your belief. Because you believe that everybody is God's creation, and that love is unconditional. You love humanity, and the God-given gift of life, which is the soul in every human being without regards, race, culture, or religion or color. And this is what Muhammad ﷺ, and he taught us. He said, do you know that you will not enter paradise until you believe, and you will not truly believe until you love one another? Shouldn't I tell you something that if you were to do it, that you would love one another? He said, say it, Ya Rasulullah, Messenger of God, say it. He said, Afshu salama bainakum. Spread peace amongst yourselves. And peace is not like we Muslims might sometimes think, like it means saying salam alaikum. Right? We think spread peace, yani spread salam alaikum. I'm going to say salam alaikum and then I'm going to cheat on you, lie, gossip. No. Spread peace means in the way that you live with people. So spreading peace and loving one another is a key to paradise. So for me, love is one of the essentials of our belief. And one of the things that I regret, and I'm speaking from my heart, out of my heart, is very often when we want to talk about Islam, we first have to rectify so many misunderstandings that we don't have the time to get down to business and talk about what Islam is. We first have to show what it isn't, to then get to the point, and then people are already tired. Okay, you have explained me what it is not. Bye. Then we don't find the time to tell people what it is. And this is why beautiful people like you that came here to the mosque, that gave the opportunity to listen and wanted to know more, are people that we can change the world with together. That even if we are not similar in everything, we know that we have the same goal in life. And that's to live in peace with love. And I think that the biggest message today is tolerance. If we accept people to be different, that doesn't mean that I agree with everything. I can disagree. But being tolerant, meaning that you give other people the chance to live the lives they want and not judging them for what they are or who they choose to be, that alhamdulillah we will be able to build bridges. But if the only way that we think to be the solution is everybody has to be a reflection of my belief, my thought, my conviction, everybody that doesn't think like me, looks like me, walks like me, talks like me, sits like me, is wrong, then our view on life is very egocentric. We want people to be a copy of ourselves, and that will never work. Culture is beautiful. Different languages are beautiful. Different ways of life are beautiful. So the last thing that I would like to say before the Q&A is one of the slogans, if I can say it like that I like are, let us work together in the things that we agree upon. And let us be patient in the things that we differ on. As long as these differences do not interfere with my security or my freedom. And if we can do that, alhamdulillah, thanks to God, then we can build a far much better, beautiful life. This is in brief what I wanted to say. Barakallahu feekum. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, then I'm more than happy to reply. Yes?
So thanks so much for talking about love, peace.
Yes.
Can I ask then?
Yes, you can.
Why is it that we hear in countries such as Pakistan and elsewhere that
Yes.
Christians are being persecuted?
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. Also in Saudi Arabia,
Yes.
tolerance between men and women.
Yes.
For many years,
I agree.
women virtually, well, they certainly weren't allowed to drive cars until in
Yes.
Saudi Arabia. So
Exactly.
in a sense,
Yes.
is Saudi really, is
Okay.
Saudi Arabia really fulfilling the
Okay.
command of Islam? You also hear of Christians being badly treated,
Yes.
persecuted,
Okay.
respectfully.
Just repeat the question.
I repeat the question. You repeat the question.
Well, I'll just give the general gist of the question, which was basically that in many parts of the world, so behaviour in Muslim countries, maybe towards Christians or other groups or Muslims, but it doesn't necessarily seem to reflect the message that was given. So why is that? Yeah?
That was a very
Good luck.
luck is not needed. To be quite frank, we should differentiate between what Islam stands for and between what Muslims do. We can't take Islam into account for the behavior of individuals that do not seem to live up to the message that Islam is conveying. So it would be wrong to say, for example, I'm going to give an example, it's a kind of comparison. In Belgium now we have a very big problem with priests that are pedophiles, for example, and that rape a lot of children. Do I link this to Christianism? I don't. This is a man that is behaving wrongly, not due to the message that he is conveying, but due to the perverse character that he is hiding. Is that clear? So, and this is exactly the same, like we cannot weigh Islam on the scale of what Muslims do. If that were the case, maybe me myself, I might not be a Muslim because I saw Muslims cheating and I saw Muslims telling the truth. I saw Muslims lying. I saw Muslims, not breaking their promises and others keeping their promises. So it has to do with the human being himself, but not as much with religion. And on the other hand, in some countries, things are political steered, but not by religion. And it is exactly what you have mentioned now, that now women seem to be allowed to drive a car. This is because now the scholars that are there gradually are understanding the message of Islam and that it's far away from the macho culture. So what is happening now is a reflection of Islam. What was happening before is a reflection of their macho interpretation of Islam, which is not ours. Is it clear? So that is the way that I would look at it. Yes?
Any other questions?
About love? Yes?
Not a question, but may I add that sometimes there's confusion between religion, culture and politics.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So it could be the culture and politics.
Yes, true. Very true. Yes.
Can you explain to us a little bit about the difference between the Shia and the Sunni? Because that seems to be a big problem. In Saudi Arabia you have the Wahhabis as well, which is yet another sect, I think.
Yes.
How did they all come about?
Okay. So afterwards we're going to talk about love again. So no, I like your question very much. To be quite frank, as I said at the end of my talk, is that tolerance is the main message. And one of the differences between the Shia and the Sunnis, one of the many, is that, for example, they attribute prophethood or godhood in extreme cases, because even within the Shia sect there are divisions and grades and so forth. So we can't just mention one of them. But one of these issues that they have is, for example, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, that they do not believe her to be a believer, for example. Some of them say that the Quran that we have isn't the entire Quran, but that they have the entire Quran, and so forth. They also seem to deny a lot of the companions that Muhammad took as his companions. They deny that they were true believers, and so forth. So you can see that it lies at the very essence of the belief, but nevertheless, if you were to ask me, then it's still about tolerance and letting... I do not agree, for example, but that doesn't mean that I allow myself to insult someone, allow myself to discriminate someone, to torture someone, to kill someone. These differences in creed and dogma, in aqeedah, as we say, shouldn't allow us to become violent and shouldn't allow us to become oppressive. Like, for me, everybody has his human right, as I said from the very start, at the very start, and that is respect, integrity, and humanity. So yes, we have a lot of differences, and as I said, but they shouldn't lead to what it led to today. That goes against the message of Islam. So, but I can't explain everything about the Shias because it will take about 6 hours, and I think we have better things to do. But to be quite frank, it's at the very core of our belief with regards to the Quran being complete or not, with regards to the wife of the Prophet, the companions of the Prophet, and also the 12 Imamites, for example. They believe that their Imams know the unseen, that God has to ask them for permission before deciding something on the face of the earth, which the Sunni Muslims do not believe. They believe that God is doesn't need permission of anyone and doesn't ask anyone, and nobody knows the unseen apart from Him. So it's in the core of the belief. Yes. Is that a bit?
Well, it's a start.
It's a start. Okay.
I'll ask a question, if that's all right.
Yes.
So you started talking about a lot of the talk was based on the love between a lot of the Prophet peace be upon
Yes.
him towards those around him,
Yes.
and the message of love, amongst,
Yes.
amongst people and towards
Yes.
nature and environment and everything else. But you started talking about also the love of God. So maybe could you just elaborate on this notion of what the Muslim kind of
Good question.
belief is, as far as what does this loving relationship between a human being and the Creator actually look like?
The thing is that Iqbal has a very beautiful answer for this, isn't it? I know he has. So I'm going to say something and then I will let him speak as well, inshallah. So to be quite frank, we believe in a Creator, and we love the Creator for the way that He treats us. And we believe that everything good, and this is a principle in the Quran, everything good comes from Allah, and the evil that we do is with our own hands. And sometimes people say, if God is almighty, then why didn't He stop war? Well, God gave us direction, but we didn't listen. No? So we love the Creator because of the love that He showed for us in making us or shaping us as individuals. What do I mean? Yani it all started when we were born. We can see, when I look at everybody here, I see that their shaper loves them. They don't look alike. Their voice is different. Their features are different. Do we say features? Their features are different. The way they talk is different. They're entirely different. And this shows us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like people complain about their nose or about their eyes or about their eyebrows, about their length, about their width, about everything. But in reality, it is a sign that we were created and that we have nothing to say over our own body. And we believe that the Creator, to start with, shaped us and created us with love. And this is why He says in Surah Al-Baqarah in ayah number 2, He created everything on the world for you. Like everything which is there is for the human being to be used in a responsible way. And when you just look at the way that He created everything on the face of the earth, no bird looks alike. If He would have wanted, life could have been very, very boring. Like a banana would taste like an orange. They would look different and they would all be yellow. But He, in reality, expressed and showed His love to us by creating all these different things for us on the face of the earth. So when we look at God, we believe Him to be our base where we are returning to. And that we were created by Him with love and going back to Him through love. And this is just one thing, and the other thing is for Iqbal, as I said. Please. Fatahullah alayk.
I'm not sure what he's referring to in terms of this thing I was
please.
going to say. No, I'm not going to add anything at this stage.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Chapter verse it is what you spoke about. Muslims should tell the truth.
Yes.
Sometimes
Yes.
Muslims want to tell the truth under oath.
Excuse me, can you repeat that?
All Muslims should tell the truth, but I've given to understand that in court, some Muslims.
This would be people that do not recognize court to be a system of justice, but a Muslim is not allowed to lie, unless, for example, and that's for every human being, robbers come into my house and they say, show me your money. I said, this is my money. Do you have more? Am I going to say yes? I'm not going to say yes. I have to protect my money. Swear that you don't have more. I swear that I don't have more. Like, you are going to protect your goods. If that is what you mean, then yes. That is to defend yourself. Like they would catch one of your children in extreme situations during a war or whatever. Say, do you have any other children that are hidden? Yes, I have one under the bed, another one upstairs. You won't say that, right? Even if they were asked you to swear, yes, at that point, that is a lie, but it is to protect. But that doesn't mean that for everything you want to protect, you're allowed to lie. No. So under oath and so forth, we are not going to lie anyway. Is that clear? And it's not mentioned in the Quran. It's mentioned by the Prophet Muhammad in this kind of situations that I've just mentioned. Yes. Yes.
What do Muslims think about Jesus Christ?
Very nice question. Do you know that in the collection, we have collections of books with the sayings of Muhammad? And the foremost collections that the Muslims all believe to be true and authentic is the collection of Bukhari and Muslim. In the collection of Bukhari and Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ said that no one is a true believer until he believes that that Allah is his God, Muhammad is his messenger, and that Jesus is the messenger of God. Yeah. So our belief in Islam is invalid if we do not accept Jesus to be a prophet of God and a messenger of God. Rather, he's amongst the 5 greatest messengers that we believe in, which is Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. We call them the 5 great prophets. And we even call Jesus the Ruhullah, or the Kalamullah, the Word of God, because he was created with the Word of God. We believe him to be given by the angel Gabriel to Maryam without a father. We believe that he was created without a father. But we believe that this is a miracle that shows God's strength, rather than making it a miracle that shows that he would be the Son of God. We don't believe that the human beings, any of the humans, are a son of God, or a child of God, or a daughter, but we believe them to be creation. So our belief, as I said, and this is in chapter 2, that لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله. We do not make any difference between any of his messengers. So our belief is not complete and not accepted if we do not believe in Jesus, the Son of Mary.
But Christians would say a bit more, wouldn't they?
Yes, they would. Yes,
Jesus?
yes, they would. And that is where we differ, of course. Like, not all Christians, but like some would say that he is the soul of God, or that he is the Son of God, or the Spirit of God. And we would say that he is God's creation and God's miracle, and that Jesus has no father. Once someone asked me, okay, so if Jesus doesn't have a father, doesn't that mean that God is the father of Jesus? And then the response that I gave is, isn't then Adam, who was created without a father and without a mother, and more likely to be called as such? And this is why in chapter number 3, God says, Jesus is for God exactly like Adam. He created them from clay, and then he said, become, and they became. And become humans, and they became humans. So this is how we would look at Prophet Jesus. We also believe that he was sent with a book, which we call the Injil. No? And we have to believe that this book was truly from God as well. So yes, we believe Islam to be actually a message that started from Adam, meaning all these prophets like Noah, like Job. We say Job or okay, I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm not an English native speaker, so sometimes some pronunciations might not be correct. So we believe David, Solomon, and so forth. We all believe them to be prophets. The only difference would be as well, like when it comes down to Noah, for example, or to David or to Solomon, that some deeds that have been attributed to them as drinking or fornication or insulting God, and we do not say that. We say that they never disrespected God and they never transgressed, because they were supposed to be an example to human mankind. So that is also a point where we would differ. But we recognize all of them to be prophets, and our belief is not complete if we do not accept them. Is that clear? Thank you. Now,
is it worth adding that as Muslims we are still waiting for Jesus to return to earth
Yes, we believe that Jesus will return to the face of the earth. And we believe that Jesus will then get married. And we believe that Jesus will then perform the pilgrimage as well and be a just leader. And if we look at the witnesses of Jehovah, for example, we see as well that they believe in a paradise on earth that will be led by a righteous leader and so forth. So we believe that there will be a time on earth where there will be paradise on earth, but it is not the end of the earth. We believe in the eternal paradise as well, but Jesus will come back, and he will then be a just leader that has to be followed. Yes. And this is in chapter number 3, that God didn't take the life of Jesus, but temporarily, and he will be given life again, and then he will come to the face of the earth. Yes. So he's of a very great importance, big importance. Okay, somebody else?
Last chance. Or forever hold your peace.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Last questions?
Can I ask a question? Yes.
Which you have to answer.
No, I'm not. I would like to ask a question. Like, what did you, for yourself, get out of the talk? What did it add something, or did it change something? When I say change, I don't mean, are you ready to become a Muslim? That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say, what did you get out of it for yourself? If you would like to share it, that would be nice. And if not, then I respect this and understand this. Are there things that you didn't know? Or is there a view that you thought, oh, I didn't know that Muslims thought like this or like that, and so forth? Yes?
Most of it was confirmation.
Okay, very good.
With some extra detail.
Okay, very good. No, thank you. Yes?
For me, it dispelled a lot of the thoughts that I had about Muslim and what is happening in the world of Islam.
Yes.
The negative things.
Yes.
And thank you for putting that in there.
No, I thank you. Do you know what happens very often? Like, Muslims very often, we have the feeling that we are being taken into account because of the wrongdoings of a minority. And that makes us feel so bad. Do you know that when there is an attack or an attack on the world, whomever it may be, a Muslim or non-Muslim, for the victims, it's as terrible as it can be always. But when it happens, do you know that every Muslim holds on to his heart? He says, I hope that the criminal act has not been committed by a Muslim. Because then we will feel it. While we despise it, not just dislike it, we hate these kind of actions. But I think in a democratic system, no one can be taken into account for the act of an individual, of somebody else. I'm responsible for my actions. But now it doesn't seem to be like that anymore. And this frightens us as well. Like we say, what is going on? We don't like this, but nevertheless, I have to justify myself. As a Democrat, do I have to justify myself for all the wrongdoings of a Democrat? No. Or a liberal or whatever? I don't. But if now, me as a Muslim, tomorrow something happens, may God, how do you say that? God forbid. Just by looking at you, I'm
the grammar police.
Yes. So if tomorrow, God forbid, something would happen, what was I about to say? I forgot. What did I just say?
You were saying about the fact that we despise his actions and we're worried about what...
Yes, and if something tomorrow would happen, God forbid, and I were not to express myself as a Muslim as like saying, I hate this, I don't like this, this is wrong, then people might think that I agree with it. While as an individual, I do not have to distance myself every time when somebody of my color, my race, my culture, or my religion does something wrong. And what is even worse is to be considered to like it, or even to be a potential similar person to the one that committed the act. So this is the way that we feel very often. And this is why these bridges need to be built. Because we are all the same people with the same goal, with the same desire of living on the face of the earth with love and peace and integrity. Everybody wants peace for his children. Everybody wants a good economical world and a social, a world that is worth living for. Everybody wants this. But we need to build these bridges, and we should not allow ourselves to become captured by the extremes. We are the people of the midway, and we're going to stay there. And we are going to work with one another, love one another, and respect one another. So this is, in brief, what I wanted to say again. Allah yabarak fikum. That was it for today. Jazakumullah khair. Oh, that's someone else. Okay.
Thank you very much for your one sentence which you mentioned is something that I would take away and remember.
Okay.
If I'm quoting you exactly, but you exhorted us to see beauty in others.
Yes.
And in otherness. And if we look for the beauty, then we'll be blinded to the other things.
Yes.
Thank you for encapsulating that so many.
I thank you. Thank you very much. Allah
It's a very nice note to end on, so thank you very much. Thank you for the talk and for handling the questions, some of which were rather tough, I have to say. But you'll be around for 15-20 minutes or so if anybody would like to come and speak privately or ask any other questions. Thank you once again to all of you for joining. And I think there's tea and coffee at the back if anybody would like to partake of that as well. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.